Okay, so we're live. It is early Saturday morning, 10/7/2023. It's about 5:06, and I'm going to just peruse through the news of the night. So let me play my intro. Here's my disclaimer, and I will be right back. Okay, well, that was rough. I have no idea what's going on with my computer, but it is, the weather is a little bit bizarre right now. So, without further ado, I figured I'd come on here. I did a live earlier, but we'll go over some of the cases that are popping in the news. And first of all, we'll go right to this because I haven't seen this yet. This is in regards to the Delphi thing. And this is coming from THR out of Indiana. Let's do that. So basically, this is the case that's been in the news for the last 6.5 years, almost 7 years, and the defense came out with a huge 136-page memorandum about the Odin stuff, about some of the evidence that they didn't have, some of the evidence that they did have, and now the attorneys for Richard Allen are saying they have more evidence that investigators lied, or at the very least, hidden evidence that would help their client. We know that they kind of hid this professor from Purdue University, so let's play this and hopefully not have any more problems with this computer.
New accusations in the Delphi murder case.
Attorneys for the defendant, Richard Allen, say they have new evidence that law enforcement lied and tried to hide information. Our senior investigative reporter, Bob Siegel, joins us in studio. He's got the new details that were filed today in Carroll County Court. Bob?
Well, defense attorneys are still trying to convince a judge that Richard Allen is not the person who killed two teenagers in Delphi. So they say investigators tried to hide evidence that would point toward the murders being part of a ritualistic sacrifice. Richard Allen is charged with killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. His defense team claims it wasn't Allen, but instead people practicing the pagan religion of Odinism. Allen's attorneys say police brushed aside crime scene evidence of a ritual sacrifice after a Purdue professor told investigators there was no evidence to support that theory. But they say a recent interview with that professor contradicts what investigators told the defense just last month. Defense attorneys say the professor told investigators after viewing the pattern of sticks on the girls that it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic rune script possibly associated with Odinism. Allen's lawyers say a Harvard expert backed up that analysis. They claim investigators knew the name of the Purdue professor but tried to hide it from Allen's defense team and misled the Carroll County prosecutor by telling
all of a sudden they come up with this so-called Purdue professor now, right? I mean, if you take what the defense team said last week about this so-called Purdue professor, that he had been lost or something, now all of a sudden he's back again. I don't know. This is bizarre.
him, they did not know the professor's name and whereabouts. So why is all this important? Well,
Hi, Audrey. I don't know why I keep calling you Aubrey. Maybe it's because I like the name Aubrey. But how are you doing? Yeah, this is the first time I've seen this too. I'll play it again.
New accusations in the Delphi murder case.
Attorneys for the defendant, Richard Allen, say they have new evidence that law enforcement lied and tried to hide information. Our senior investigative reporter, Bob Siegel, joins us in studio. He's got the new details that were filed today in Carroll County Court. Bob?
well, defense attorneys are still trying to convince a judge that Richard Allen is not the person who killed two teenagers in Delphi. So they say investigators tried to hide evidence that would point toward the murders being part of a ritualistic sacrifice. Richard Allen is charged with killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. His defense team claims it wasn't Allen, but instead people practicing the pagan religion of Odinism. Allen's attorneys say police brushed aside crime scene evidence of a ritual sacrifice after a Purdue professor told investigators there was no evidence to support that theory. But they say,
I'm glad you're doing well, Audrey. Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's just, so far this year, it's been raining every single Friday on my day off. So kind of depressing, but you know what? Nothing I can do about it. It's not raining that hard right now, so I am actually outside. But one good thing about the rain, it's bringing warm air, so we'll take it. But I'm glad you're here, Audrey. Thank you for coming in.
say a recent interview with that professor contradicts what investigators told the defense just last month. Defense attorneys say the professor told investigators,
In my opinion, this whole case is going to the toilet pretty quick here. I just personally think, my personal opinion has always been pretty steady throughout this whole 6.5 years of just, I did a video earlier about how law enforcement has been really good the last couple of weeks with cracking some of these cases. But in this case here, I don't know. I'm not going to give them a very high grade at all. This case has been mishandled from the very beginning, and just my opinion, if the prosecution goes to court, goes to trial with some of this stuff here, it's just, and it's unfortunate for the families. It really is, because the families want to get some answers here. But right now, at this very second, it's not going, in my opinion, not going very good for the prosecution.
After viewing the pattern of sticks on the girls, that it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic rune script possibly associated with Odinism. Allen's lawyers say a Harvard expert backed up that analysis. They claim investigators knew the name of the Purdue professor but tried to hide it from Allen's defense team and misled the Carroll County prosecutor by telling him they did not know the professor's name and whereabouts. So why is all this important? Well, because the defense is trying to get important evidence against Richard Allen suppressed. And to do that, they're arguing investigators misled a judge to get a search warrant of Richard Allen's home. They're now trying to make the case that if investigators allegedly lied about the professor, they're also capable of lying to get a search warrant. The next step, a judge is going to decide whether the defense arguments have credibility and whether to hold a hearing, possibly, to get the evidence that police collected.
You know, I personally don't buy it. You know, again, I don't. You know, yeah, does law enforcement hide some shit? Sure, they do. Do they kind of falsify information sometimes? Yeah, they probably do. But this is a pretty high-profile case. Okay, this is not just, you know, your average murder trial. This is a death penalty case here, and mistakes like this will kill you in court. You know, these defense lawyers came to play this game. They're not going to chicken out and just say, "Hey, we'll take a plea deal here." It seems like these guys mean some business. So I'm just saying they better straighten this shit out, or this is not going to go well.
From Allen's home, thrown out and not able to be introduced to a jury.
Oh my goodness.
The judge is not going to throw out shit. Okay, they're just not going. She's just not going to. But that doesn't mean that you know, there can't be a mistrial or an appeal down the road, or it's looking that way, Audrey. It is. I mean, it's just. I mean, I'm pretty convinced that he did this, but my opinion doesn't freaking matter. It's going to come down to 12 jurors, and if you put 12 jurors in a jury trial, right? And I mean, you can take 12 people on YouTube right now, and they're all going to have different opinions of what they think about this. So can you just imagine? You know, I don't know. It's not looking good. Yeah, I agree. I think they might have some stuff up their sleeve, and let's hope so. I mean, I just hope they find the right person who did this, and I hope this person pays dearly for what he did. But again, my opinion in this whole thing doesn't hold any weight. I mean, I'm probably about 70% that he did this, but
Okay, already seems like a lot of twists and turns, possible twists and turns to this case.
Well, lots of twists and turns. It's going to be up to the judge to sort through everything that's been filed here over the last couple of weeks to decide.
And you wonder why now the other judge just dismissed himself off this case, right? Like, I can guarantee you this right now. They're not going to allow cameras in this courtroom. It's just not going to happen.
Decide whether there will be
They should, but they're not going to.
hearing, when there will be a hearing, and what is going to happen moving forward.
Okay, Bob Siegel on top of it. Thank you so much.
It's just, yeah. All right, so we're going to go quickly to, when did this come out? That was a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so we're going to go here to the new evidence in the Rex Heuermann case. Could link to serial killing, so let's check that out.
In December of 2000.
So again, we're switching a little bit topics. Yeah, that's all I care about. You know, I've been following Delphi for forever. It's the case that just won't go away. You know, everybody was so excited last year when they finally arrested somebody. You know, I was too. Like, but if you've been watching this case, and I'm pretty sure you have, and following along, don't get your hopes up because, you know, it might go south quick. And it seems like that's happening in this case. Now, I mean, I hope that somebody who did this never sees another sunset again. It's just horrible to do to children. I don't need any more details in this case. I don't need any more opinions. I just want somebody to fry for this. That's all I care about. And I personally think they got the right guy. But again, my opinion doesn't really matter much. All right, so this is Rex Heuermann. I've been following this case for a long time, back to Shannon Gilbert a few years back. And I'm pretty sure that this guy's responsible for more unalivings than he is. But they're not going to, apparently they can't release his DNA to CODIS until he's actually convicted. So, but we'll see about that. I think they can get around that. Not sure, but let's see what they got for. So this guy is accused of unaliving three people at least, in Long Island. Let's go with it. So it says here, new evidence in Rex Heuermann's case could link him to serial killings. I've been following a case up here called the Maine South Woodsman case out of Worcester, Massachusetts. And some of these unalivings are very similar to what this guy did. And I haven't got a concrete answer on whether or not he might have had property up here too. We don't know.
10, they were, their bodies were recovered. They were buried in a similar fashion, in a similar location, in a similar way. All the women were petite. They were, they all did the same thing for a living.
Whoops. Sorry. Yep, that was wrong. I hit the wrong button.
In December of 2010, they were, their bodies were recovered. They were buried in a similar fashion, in a similar location, in a similar way. All the women were petite. They were, they all did the same thing for a living. They all advertised the same way. And there were immediately there were similarities with regard to the crime scenes.
Rex Heuermann charged with 3 of the Gilgo Beach murders, and he's also the lead suspect in a 4th, but hasn't been charged yet. Police have uncovered the remains of 11 people in that area, most of whom were sex workers, just like Rex Heuermann's alleged victims were. So could more charges be coming for Heuermann, especially for Shannon Gilbert, whose suspicious disappearance and death led to the discovery of all of the other bodies? This is what is tipping the...
See, I'm not 100% that he's responsible for Gilbert, but you never know. That her whole thing is a little bit bizarre. But you know, he could be. But I'm not 100% convinced that he's responsible for that. I think he's responsible for other ones, but I don't know.
Scales this morning.
State police. Yeah, there's somebody after me. I'm sorry?
I mean, this is so horrible. If you listen to this 9/11 call long enough, you just want to go down there and smack the guy that was just doing this, right? Like, take her out of there and bring her somewhere and drop her off where she's safe, but that didn't happen. And this call is just horrible.
There's somebody after me. Stop it! No, please stop it, please! Please stop it, please! No, what are you gonna do to me? What are you gonna do to me? Stop it! Please get him out of here. These people are plotting to kill me.
And to bring in our guest, still in the studio with me, Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who's been following this case since its inception, and joining us remotely, criminal defense attorney John Ray, who is representing the Gilbert family. John, welcome back on the show. Nice to see you. And I'd like to begin with you, please, as you have been running your own parallel investigation, so to speak, using private investigators to ascertain any available information about Shannon's disappearance. Has there been any?
It is. It's just like, you know, anytime I hear like a woman like that screaming or something like that, like it's just hard to, hard not to go crazy. It's just horrible, terrible.
Anything new learned since we last checked in with you, John?
There's an enormous amount of new information.
This guy has the most colorful clothing in the United States. He should have been a golfer, literally. I mean, where do you find this jacket? And it's dye. Not saying it's horrible. I'm just saying I don't know where you would find that.
And evidence that we've learned since last time we spoke. And it's certainly all of the evidence that I'm speaking of, the new evidence that we have points to the same thing inexorably, which is that Shannon was murdered. And it reaches the point where the police facile story is not just a fable, but it's an absurd fable.
Yeah, I agree.
When you consider all of the evidence. And I can't believe that.
I agree. I think, 9/11 calls are, operators they got their hands full, but some of them are better than others. And in this case here, I don't know what they could have done different, but I don't think they handled it 100%. What I want to do here, I'm going to go, hold on a second. I want to pull this up because, so this is the case here. Where'd it go? Having troubles with my computer. Sorry. I don't want that. Well, it's not working for me now, so. Okay, so I did it. Very good. So this is the case that I've been following, and this is coming out of basically Worcester, Massachusetts, and all of these unalivings were done between 2003 and 2007. And I put these two ladies here, Rosalie Miller and Mindy West, on here too, because it's very similar MOs, very similar victims. But all of these here were right around the time that he would have been active too. So, and like I said, the MOs are pretty similar. These were all SWs here. Drug addictions here, and most of these victims, all of these victims actually were strangled. So I just wanted to point that out. So this is what I've been following. When they arrested Heuermann, I'd love to get his DNA in CODIS to see if we can solve some of these. I'm not saying that he's responsible for these, but he might be. So. All right, so let's go back to the video. Because there was some rumor that he had property up in Massachusetts. So.
They're adhering to that story up until now. Perhaps that's changing, but
Remind us,
no
please, John.
evidence of it.
Remind us, please, John, what is the story police believe were the circumstances of Shannon's death?
I don't think they even believe their own story, but the story is that Shannon became crazed by some unknown cause, ran into an almost impenetrable marsh at daylight, as daylight was about to come up, and found her way into the marsh such that it's a relatively narrow marsh, and just managed to just drop dead of natural causes while she was in there. And the other theory they espouse equally is that she died from drowning.
From listening to the 9/11 tapes over and over and over and over again with this victim here, it almost sounds like she was either given some sort of a date rape drug, or because she sounded a little out of it on the phone. Maybe that's because she was, nervous, afraid, which she should have been. But I've seen these date rape drugs happen before, and I would not be shocked. But they probably would have found that, not sure, in her system. So I don't know.
Where she's found face up on a bush, and there's no water even close, remote. She would have to drink the water in order to drown.
Yeah.
And yet they've adhered to this absurdity.
Right.
Why?
Exactly. Why?
And I think, there was a lot of storms that happened. There was Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Irene, and both of those storms hit Long Island pretty hard. So some of these bodies could have been moved around a little bit. And some of the bodies might have actually been washed out. You never know. There might have been more bodies there. You don't know. Because once you get surges like that, I think they had a 9-foot surge from Irene. So that could make a difference.
There's a problem there.
Matt Johnson, you've heard
Yeah.
these absurd theories. They make no sense, do they?
They make no sense, but
Absurd theories. It's funny.
you know what? I'm glad that out of this tragedy, we have an outcome where the other bodies were discovered and we're getting
Yes.
answers now. I mean, along with Shannon and her story, I think that is the big mystery in all of this. And then also the fourth victim, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, who is connected to the Gilgo 4, connected to Rex Heuermann because he's the prime suspect in her murder.
Right, Matt. And the Gilgo 4, it's so hard to keep. 11 people found dead there.
Right.
These 4 victims were found similarly, right?
I mean, this one here, I think for sure. Maureen Brainerd Barnes. I think they spelled that wrong. Didn't they spell that wrong? I think he's connected to that one for sure.
They were bound. They were in burlap sacks. They were found in similar manner and found in relatively the same area of that Ocean Parkway. Remember, this is a long stretch along a highway where all of these 11 remains were found. Some bodies were...
So you changed your schedule? This is basically my schedule. I'm up until probably once the sun starts to come up. That's when I know it's time for me to go to bed. But this is when I normally come on. I usually do 2 lives, one Friday night, one Saturday morning. Sorry that your schedule changed, unless it's a good thing.
dismembered.
Right.
So these 4 here, I think are conclusive. This one here, I don't know. And these 2 here, I'm not sure. But this is where we got that surge from Hurricane Irene. They got this here, and there's not a lot of land here. So if you get a 9-foot surge here, could move things around a little bit.
And these victims were found whole but wrapped.
Oh my gosh, Matt, it's sickening. John Ray, let me go back to you, please. In the investigations that have been going on privately that you've been involved with,
Agreed.
have there been any indications of any?
I agree with that. There's so many psychopaths out there that you can't blame one guy for all of them. But you know, I agree.
Involvement with suspect Rex Heuermann?
Yes, there have been. The details of that I'm not ready to disclose. I have attempted to work with, and I've had some cooperation with the police department on this new evidence that's developed, but it now appears for the first time that there's a real strong possibility that Heuermann was
Heuermann's got a great lawyer, though. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's
connected with the group of people who are responsible for the death of Shannon Gilbert. We've always maintained, when you hear that tape, you'll see that I'm right, that there's a group of people involved. It's not just one. And that's why Shannon says they are trying to kill me. And there is now, I've been able to make some synapses between Heuermann's life and the life of those in Oak Beach. So we'll see. That's unfolding. It's going to take an enormous amount of intense investigation to really put those synapses, make them tight, and come.
All I'm saying is there are certain drugs out there that will make you panic, paranoid. I'm not saying she was on drugs. I'm not trying to blame victim here, but I forget his name, the driver. The drivers never sat well with me at all.
Together, but they do exist.
Wow. John Ray, what you're sharing with us is huge.
Right.
I mean, I know you're not ready to reveal the particulars, and we certainly respect that. But just the fact that you're confirming for us today here on opening.
Yeah, he's he's in it for the attention. When you wear stuff like that, that's for sure. But I like him too. Not making fun. I'm just saying, like, where do you find these clothes?
Statements that in your private investigation, there has been discovered a link between Rex Heuermann and Shannon Gilbert. Matt Johnson, what does that make you think?
And
I just want to know what's going on with guys with shoes, right? Like this guy, this is probably at least a $600 to $700 suit here, right? Probably even more than that. And you wear these shoes with that suit. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead, please,
Yeah,
John.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please. What would you like to add?
I was just going to say that part of the reason that this kind of information is as
Yeah, if I ever wore something like that, I'd be thrown out. Literally, I'd just get out, take your freaking clothes with you. Don't come in my house again. It's flashy though. I like the tie. I just wouldn't wear that jacket with that tie. But
now has come to us is that people are witnesses from all different places in the country even have been calling me, people who are afraid.
I mean, if I'm going to buy a suit like that, which I have, I'm not putting those shoes on. That's right. I agree with that. Women have to look a certain way where guys can put on whatever the frick they want. It's aggravating. Especially those shoes. Like, why are you going to waste that suit with those shoes? I mean, probably not expecting to be showing those shoes on camera, but, I'm not going to waste that money on a suit without shoes. Just not going to do it.
Afraid to speak to the police or have reasons not to want to speak to them. They call and speak to me. And I give them the time and the effort, and I meet them. And
Sure.
It helps to advance this thing. So I hope that keeps going.
Seems that it really has. John, thank you for that. Matt Johnson, your reaction.
I've been down to Gilgo Beach. It's a beautiful place. It really is. There's a lot of money down there. It's dark. Like, it's not it's not like your typical beach like in Florida where, you know, you get the moon, the stars and stuff. When it's nighttime down there, it is almost pitch black. So if you're gonna hide a body down there, that's a place to do it. But the beaches are absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion.
Into this.
I think that this is big. Leave no stone unturned. We have also seen that the Gilgo Task
That's why wealthy people live there. I mean, you know,
Force is still investigating. They're interviewing women behind bars, and they solved another case unrelated to Huerman.
Oh, they've been doing a marvelous job, as you've known.
I mean, if I had my pick, I'd probably go to South Carolina for beaches or, you know, Western Florida. But around here, New England, New York, Long Island, those beaches, Gilgo, they're fantastic.
You've been in touch with all the investigators, the public information officer there. Wow, so much more to be seen.
All right, so that's that. I can stop sharing this now. I can go. I want to do this here because this is when we get straight out of Compton here. So let's go to this one here. Nope, I don't want to watch that. Oh, this one. This is the one I wanted to watch. So this is going to be a little triggering here. This is like stuff you don't ever hear of, but it's pretty crazy. So this is, again, coming out of Colorado. Colorado seems to be this state, right, where the bizarre happens. So they've found 100, check this out, 150 bodies found improperly stored in a Colorado funeral home. Look at this place, right? Colorado police have discovered more than 115 bodies improperly stored in a California funeral home. The funeral home had apparent complaints of an abhorrent smell emanating from the property. The FBI is launching a federal investigation to see if any federal laws were violated. Unbelievable. It's just horror. This is something you would see in like a horror film, period.
Gruesome discovery inside this Colorado funeral home.
Without providing too much detail to avoid further victimizing these families, the area of the funeral home where the bodies were improperly stored was horrific.
I mean, this is just bizarre. You're an RN. I wouldn't want your job at all, ever. No thanks. Colorado's the new California. It is. This is just like, though, this is
More than 115 bodies found improperly stored inside the 2,500 square foot.
I mean, these things don't get checked, you know, like from health inspectors and shit like that. I mean, 115 bodies.
Site, according to the Fremont County Sheriff. Hazmat teams called to secure the building as law enforcement executed a search warrant.
It is a very tragic situation, and as I've stated, there are a lot of decedents there, but I don't really want to go into the scene itself.
The disturbing discovery made at the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose, about 100 miles south of Denver. The business's website offering green burials without embalming. Bodies often laid to rest in biodegradable caskets like this one made of wicker, or in some cases buried in nothing at all. State records show the funeral home's registration with the state expired on November 30th of last year. The State Department of Regulatory Agencies documenting complaints about an abhorrent smell emanating from the property on October 3rd, according to this report. When investigators reached the owner, John Halford, by phone, he acknowledged that he has a problem at the property and claimed that he practices taxidermy there. The Halfords did not return
This
our
is
request
bizarre,
for
yeah.
comment.
We want to process this scene as quickly as possible.
The county sheriff declaring a local emergency disaster, calling in state and federal agencies, including the FBI, to provide specialized
bizarre.
support.
These are teams with additional training and specialized equipment that serve to process scenes of national magnitude, to include the response to 9/11 and major airline incidents.
The county coroner tasked with identifying the remains and
Like if you were trying to come up with a script for like some sort of a horror, intense movie, you couldn't do this, right? Or maybe you could, but I just think it's just weird.
notifying families.
Forensic identification through fingerprints, medical or dental records, or possibly DNA will need to be completed. This could take several months.
Yeah.
Return to Nature also operated a second location in nearby Colorado Springs. Mary Simon says she entrusted her husband Daryl's remains to that facility for cremation in August and was still waiting to receive his ashes.
I'm devastated. I feel like I've lost my husband all over again.
Now she's nervous about where he could be.
I'm terrified that my husband's in that mess there. I'm terrified that he's didn't get cremated.
And Valerie joins us now in studio.
That's what I mean, like and these guys are getting paid for this shit too, right? So you expect your loved one or whoever just being treated like dog shit, literally.
So Valerie, listening to that woman, you can understand her anguish, her worry. What sort of charges, if any, could the owners be facing?
So right now the sheriff's department says that's unclear and that will all be part of this longer investigation, but that could take
Oh, he's going to get sued.
several months. The state regulatory agency that wrote up that report, they do allege that the owner attempted to conceal the improper storage of human remains. So that will probably play into that investigation. The FBI is also launching a federal investigation to see if any federal laws were violated. And Ellison, we should note that in the state of Colorado, it is not required to have a license to be an individual funeral home operator. Only the businesses require to be licensed with the state.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top.
I mean, it's unheard of, right? You just don't hear about that shit every day. It's horribly bizarre. All right, so let's go to this because this is a little bit weird too. I didn't have a lot of content tonight, so I'm just kind of bruising through the most bizarre cases here. So let's go. This is a Kingwood. Whoops. Sorry. Okay, so this here. Let me share this. Right, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I can't believe these people don't get, they must be. They must be regulated of some sort, I would think. No. Okay. All right, so this is this case here. You gotta, like Kingwood teen allegedly beat, choked by own mother for not wearing a bib in a social media post. Yes. Beat, choked by own mother for not wearing a habib. Hahib. I think that's how you pronounce that in a social. I should know how to pronounce that in a social media post.
mother is accused of choking and burning her teenage daughter over what she wasn't wearing in a photo, and also for overwarming some bread.
Yeah, that mother has been arrested and tonight is in the Harris.
Overwarming the bread. A Kingwood mother is facing felony charges after allegedly beating, choking, and burning her teenage daughter. Triggering stuff here. For overcooking pita bread. I mean, I love pita bread, but Harris County prosecutors. So this is out of Houston, I think.
Harris County Jail, and that is where KPRC2's Bryce Newberry joins us now live with these horrific allegations in this case. Tell us about it, Bryce.
Yeah, Keith, Daniela, that mother got booked into the Harris County Jail overnight. Tonight, she is accused of choking her 14-year-old daughter after seeing her without her hijab in an Instagram post. That is according to a source close to this investigation. Tonight, she's also accused of burning her daughter with a hot oven rack after that teen allegedly overcooked pita bread.
No kidding.
With a translator at her side, 36-year-old Sitar Khan making her first court appearance on Wednesday afternoon, facing 2 felony charges.
Your niece
Assault
lives in
family or
Kingwood,
household member,
Kingwood,
including
Texas.
breath and injury to child.
That's amazing.
According to investigators, the physical abuse against her 14-year-old daughter, a result of the teen not wearing her hijab.
The defendant upset the complainant did not wear her hijab at school, beat and choked the complainant, causing her to lose consciousness.
The hijab is a garment worn by some Muslim women to cover their hair. A source close to the investigation says Khan spotted the missing head covering in an Instagram post. The injury to a child charge stems from an incident over pita bread, after prosecutors say Khan got upset about it being overcooked.
Forced the complainant's arm onto a hot oven rack, causing her to have 3 burn marks.
Prosecutors wanted a $75,000 total bond for the homemaker of 17 years, but the hearing officer set it at $20,000.
Why would you do that? Like, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know.
Khan is expected in court Thursday morning. And we learned in court that the 14-year-old victim in this case is in Child Protective Services custody tonight. We did reach out to an attorney that's been hired to represent Khan several times tonight, but have not heard back. Reporting live downtown, I'm Bryce Newberry, KPRC 2 News.
All right,
I mean, that's just horrible parenting right there. Just yeah, it's they are very much abused, and victims make victims. I agree. But you know, you should know, right, that that's probably not going to fly. I don't know. I have kids too. You know, you get angry, but I'd never hurt my kids ever. Okay, so let's go to this. This is new too. I didn't see this, or did I? Did we watch this? No. So this is coming from Court TV 2. And I'll finish this live up with this. And then we'll get out of here. This is more coming from Delphi. This is coming from Court TV. And the defense, of course, is doubling down on the ritual sacrifice claims. So let's go here.
Child murder!
Well, I can't believe I missed these two.
Why did you do it?
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.
That's a sense of relief, and yet we still don't feel this sense of joy. Why? The girls are never going to come back.
It's a tragedy for the community here and everywhere.
Shame on you! Shame on you, Richard! You're going to prison for the rest of your life!
Now to what's trending in true crime. The attorneys for Richard Allen doubling down on their claims of an Odinist cult being behind the killings of Abby Williams and Libby German. In newly found court documents, the defense claims that police hid evidence that supports their theory of a ritualistic sacrifice. Allen's team points to Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett swearing under.
So I've contacted somebody that's really, really intelligent about this stuff here. He's actually a doctor. And I'm still waiting for him and his response. I was going to try to get him on a live, but he's wicked busy. His name's Jackson Crawford. He's really, all he does is Odinistic, Germanic stuff. And I wanted him to take a look at this to see, especially the F, because I just don't think that's an F, but I wanted to get his perspective on it. So when I hear back from him, I'll let everybody know.
Oath that a Purdue University professor did not believe symbols of Odinism were displayed on the bodies of Abby and Libby. But according to the defense, prosecutors said they were unable.
See, this is really weird to me because this looks like blotting here. And if you're going to use somebody's hand to draw this, I don't know if that's how it would happen, but what do I know?
Able to identify that professor. And once the educator was identified, the defense says that there was a taped statement given by him admitting that the scenario seems entirely plausible. What? So are we going to see a battle over Odinism? Let's bring in our guest and talk about it. Still with me, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Koffendorfer, State Attorney in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, me too. This guy's really smart. I've actually been following him for a long time, so I didn't know that this case. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember the Odinism stuff going all the way back to the beginning of this trial. I mean, beginning of this case. I mean, that's what they were taught. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knew that there was some sort of an F mark somewhere out on a tree. I don't think anybody really knew if that was false. I don't know, but I remember hearing about that F early on in this case. Maybe after the first 6 months, I think.
Dave Ehrenberg and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor David Bruno. Wonderful.
And then, of course, Robert Ives coming out with saying there was non-secular stuff out there. So, I mean, worst case scenarios, somebody knew how to do stuff like that, I would think, right? So even if it isn't, say an Odinistic cult out there, somebody was trying to cover something up. That's my opinion.
What have you all on the panel this Friday morning. Dave Ehrenberg, start us off, please. What are your thoughts on this?
Good to be with you and our fellow panelists. I still think the whole theory is bizarre because we're talking about this weird.
It's not a theory, though. This is coming from the prosecution. So the prosecution did investigate this. Now, what they did after that, I don't know. But it's technically not a theory because they did look at it. I mean, even Robert Ives, like I just said, he said the scene was odd. It's something you would want to take a picture of. So,
cult of Odinism, which involves white supremacy. And the bottom line is this defendant confessed while he was in jail. And his take of that is, well,
they always have these people on these shows that know nothing about this case.
Guards were Odinists and they were standing over me and forced me to confess. I don't buy it. Also, they found the smoking gun literally at his house, the gun that likely was used in the killing because the calibers, the forensics matched. So
Rick Snee is awesome. I like Rick. Absolutely. I don't agree with everything Rick Snee says, but I do agree that Bill Clinton is in his closet.
I think the chance for the defense here is to get the search warrant pulled where the fruits of the poisonous
Rick's a great guy.
Tree, everything that they found after they searched his place would be thrown out. And that would leave prosecutors with a real problem here. If they can.
They always get people on these shows that don't know what they're talking about. It's just so weird.
Undermine the search warrant. I think that's the key, and that's what they're trying to do here. But for me, there's enough evidence to convict him already.
Dave Ehrenberg, thank you for those reminders. You know,
This guy's an idiot. This guy is obviously delusional. How can you say that? How can you literally say that they have enough evidence to convict this guy already? I mean, that's just a straw man right there.
the unspent round found by the girls' bodies that cycled through his gun, found in his house, as you said. Remember, he was wearing that blue Carhartt jacket, had it at his house. The suspect was wearing it in that video, the confession.
Oh my God, this is just so weird, right? They're just putting things into this thing that we don't know if it's even true yet, right? Like, oh my God.
David Bruno, is this just great defense work, putting up a lot of smoke and mirrors for everybody to see?
Yeah, without a doubt. This is what defense attorneys do.
It's really what caused this case to actually get so-called solved. Yeah, I agree with that. If that bullet is all there is, I mean, they're making this bullet out to be this huge, pardon the pun, smoking gun in this case, but I don't really freaking think it is, especially if they didn't have any chain of command in the retrieving of the bullet. That's a pretty popular bullet.
And this is a circumstantial case. This is a long investigation, and they were able to use a video from a corner store, as well as all these witness accounts of seeing a man. And also, one of the victims had a cell phone video which depict that man on the bridge, and audio saying, "Go down the hill." Now, when you add the ballistics, as my colleague Dave says, with the gun that matches the unspent round right next to the victim's body, that's the glue that brings all the circumstantial evidence in. This motion is trying to suppress the ballistics. I mean, it's critical because that would be the tie-in to all of this circumstantial inferences that the prosecutor's going to use. And it's essentially the defense's playbook at an early phase right here, because they understand the significance of the ballistics. They have to essentially lay out their defenses here to try to get the suppression of the ballistics. It's a third-party guilt attack that's playing out in this filing. However,
no, they're using the prosecution's discovery and challenging the discovery of what the prosecution said. That's it. That's what they're doing. It's verbatim.
However, they gotta get the suppression of the ballistics, because that's the thing that's gonna tie it all together.
All right, David, the case could go bye-bye, so lots is at stake. Even if these claims about Odinism aren't true, you're right. What's really, really going to be at issue is whether or not the evidence they found in his house when they got that warrant is going to be in or out at the trial. Last but certainly not least, Jennifer Koffendorfer, you've been digging in on this case for quite some time. Tell us what the evidence says to you, please.
Well, I think there's some issues with the evidence. First of all, yes, there are 5.
Finally, somebody with a clear head. My God. You know, jeez. You know, they already convicted this guy from stuff that, I don't know, it's just so weird. You know, like, how do they know 12 jurors are going to even listen to the ballistics on that bullet? I mean, I just don't get it.
5 potential confessions that he made.
Because I guarantee you, even if that bullet gets allowed in the court, the defense will have their own experts, and they basically just cancel themselves out, really. So,
Over the phone to his mother and to his wife. So this isn't a jailhouse person coming forward. This would be very strong because it's recorded. But there's a lot of issues with him being housed in a maximum security facility in a 9 by 11 cell. And what, I mean, he was eating his paperwork. There's reports that he had basically lost his mind in there and then made these confessions. So the defense is definitely going to shine the light on that issue.
People confess in jail and prison all the freaking time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so weird. Like, you can go to prison tomorrow and everybody in there, or at least like a third of the prisoners in there, will say at some point, I did it. And then the next minute they'll say, nah, it's just kidding.
And ballistically, this is not a strong case, in my opinion, because that round was extracted not by being fired, but through manual action. That means the extractor marks and the ejection marks are going to be.
It says in the PCA that even the experts that examined that bullet, it was an opinion, kind of, not like fact. So there's that.
Light hits on those casings, or on that casing, and are they going to be able to make a determination that definitely it came from his gun?
Now, I'm not saying he's not guilty, because, again, going back to what I said earlier, I think he is pretty guilty, but my opinion doesn't really mean much. I mean, they're gonna, yeah, absolutely. They should have moved him immediately. But they didn't. And there's a reason why they didn't move him, because they were working on him to get a plea. They don't want this to go to trial because they don't want to spend the money. So they're hoping for a plea. And that's what happens in prison. I don't care what anybody says. They did the same thing to Ron Logan. He just wouldn't budge. So what was I saying? I forget. I don't know. I don't care.
It's going to be problematic, I think.
Oh, appreciate that, Jennifer. Thank you. So we know no date has been set yet.
I appreciate that, Jennifer, but you're not following the narrative. Read the question again and please re-answer it. Following our narrative. I just, I was talking about the guilt of Richard Allen. I mean, I think he's guilty too, but to convince 12 jurors of slight circumstantial evidence, right? Especially now that we know that in one interview he said from 12:30 to 1:30, and in another interview he said from 1:30 to 3:30, I think. So, I mean, which one are you going to believe, right?
For hearing on these claims the defense team is making. We know that they also have requested a discovery deadline from prosecutors for no later than November 1st.
And we literally know nothing about this guy. At least I don't. Apparently this guy has never been in trouble before with the law. I don't think they're going to find any other crimes associated with this guy. So that's going to be another factor too, in my opinion. Like, you have all these other people around this case, and I hate to bring this name up because I don't think he's involved, but Keegan Klein is a known SO, right? I don't think Ron Logan did this, but Ron Logan isn't the angel that everybody thinks he is either. So, I mean, there's that.
If their hearing request is granted, they're asking for what's called a Franks hearing. If you hear that term, I usually like to think alliteration, like think Franks, think falsified.
That's the phrase of the month, Franks hearing. We all know what a Franks hearing is.
They're trying to make these allegations that that police lied in the efforts and kind of falsified some things that formed the basis of that.
I hate to say it, because I usually stick up for law enforcement, and I'm not saying that they're inept, but in this case here, from the very beginning of this case, from the very start, there's been mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and at some point you just have to not lie to yourself. I mean, this case has been handled horribly, just horribly.
Warrant. So if they get this Franks hearing, and if they're successful at the hearing, and this evidence gets suppressed, Should Richard Allen be let out on bond? We're thinking about bond at Court TV today. We were just talking about Brooks Halleck and the big bond hearing arguments yesterday in front of the judge. Let me bring back in my guests, see what they think. Do we think the defense is trying to go there? Dave Ehrenberg, back to you, please.
Yeah, and as David said, if you can throw out the search warrant, you'll suppress the evidence. And without the evidence, what do you have? I mean, Jennifer brings up some good points here. I mean, you don't have a very strong case without that so-called smoking gun, and you have the confessions. But overall, it's not, I think, strong enough.
One thing about Ron Logan that I can't get past, and I'll have to tell people that I don't think. I mean, it's just my opinion. I don't think anybody can tell who the guy on the bridge is. I just don't. But I just don't think that's Ron Logan. Early on in this case, I said the guy on the bridge isn't taller than 5'9", 5'10". But I can't get past the fact that Ron Logan was there. Ron Logan was home. He wasn't anywhere else. He was home. And I know people want to discount phone pings and stuff, but he wasn't in his house, because if he was in his house, then that phone ping wouldn't have been a phone ping. That would have been connected to his Wi-Fi. So he was somewhere on his property, and I just can't get past that. Sorry.
Enough to hold him.
Not saying he had anything to do with the crime, but
And without bond,
he was there, home, between the time of the murders, and I don't think he was in his house.
if the search warrant goes bye-bye. So I was a prosecutor. I would fight to the heavens to try to protect the integrity of that search warrant so that you protect the evidence. It doesn't get suppressed, or else I don't think they have a good case.
I appreciate it, Dave. You're right. David Bruno, last word with you, please. How do you see this playing out? Do you think the court is going to give the defense an opportunity to have that Franks hearing that they want?
Again, in this case here, it's just one of those things where I don't get, caught up in the preamble and all of this other shit. I guarantee you next month something will come out. Everybody will think completely differently, right? It's just so weird. But I've been following this case since day one. And I just want whoever did this, and I know I sound like a broken record and a cliche at this point. Whoever did this, I want to have face the worst possible penalty ever.
I believe they will, just because the evidence that's now come up contradicts a statement in the affidavit to support probable cause. Although I
agree. I had a video early on when I jumped on to my lives that the whole timeline and everything, and I just can't. I really think Ron Logan heard something that day, and he didn't think anything of it because people were on his property all the time. But when they came knocking on his door to search for two missing kids, he got nervous, and he remembered where that sound came from that he heard that day, and he went out there later and found the girls, and he did everything he could to distance himself from being there that day, just in case.
Disagree with my esteemed colleague here. I do not believe it would result in the release, even if the ballistics is suppressed, because of the tight timeline that they have.
He didn't want law enforcement sneaking around his house because he had illegal guns in there. We know that now. He wasn't the angel that everybody thinks he is.
With Allen on the trail. He himself says that he was there from a couple hours. He says he was parked near a building that was parked erratically, is also confirmed.
Agree. I'm tired of it. I don't need to know anything more about the crime scene. Be nice to know the time of death or cause of death, but I just want somebody to face the music here.
By the convenience store video, and also you got the video from the victim's phone with the man that is similar to the description of Allen.
I guarantee you there's a lot of people on this planet that wear this exact same outfit.
right behind them before they're told to go down the hill. So I think there's circumstantial evidence to support it, and I don't think it's going to result in the release, even if they're successful.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she's going to throw anything out, but that doesn't mean they're not going to get an appeal. You know, like. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with the whole alibi thing. I just don't buy it. I just don't. Especially when we know he was there, and he wasn't out driving around. So, all right. So I'm going to get out of here. Been here over an hour. Thank you for coming in, Audrey. Always glad to see you in the chat. Yeah, guys wear this stuff all the time. That's like my outfit. I have my dress up clothes for work and shit like that. But other than that, if I'm out, it's going to the supermarket or something, that's what I wear. That's you can't tell who that is on the bridge. I don't care who you are. People have been trying to do that for 6.5 years. It's not going to work. They're going to have something else, and let's hope they do, I guess. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. I'll play my outro. Thank you for coming in, Audrey. It's always good to see you here. I thought I'd see Frosty in here, but he's probably still working. I'll see everybody later. I may come on Sunday and do Football Sunday with Steven and Thomas Frost, but thank you all. Everybody have a great, great weekend and stay safe.